Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video on my channel. It's been a while since I did an interview, but with the Polaris season starting back up, I thought that there was no better way to celebrate than to bag myself an interview with some notable players and coaches in the scenes. To kick things off, I have an absolute banger for you. It is the head coach of Apeks, of course, Itopata.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I'm really happy to be here. So for those who don't know me, I'm Itopata. I'm 28 years old, and I'm currently the head coach for Apeks. I don't know. Do you do you want to know anything else?
No, that's fine. Thank you. We already had a couple of hiccups doing the intro, but we're getting into it now. It's a pleasure to have you here, of course. You've been the analyst at TSM. You've been the coach at Wave before as well. How is it exactly that you got started in Valorant? It wasn't just that instant jump straight to these teams. What is it that really got you into the game to start things off?
I joined Valorant on the first day of the beta. I was lucky to get the key from one of the streams, and I think I found a team with Carcass, who's currently the head coach for G2 Gozen, on the second or third day of the beta. So we started off together, and we found a couple of players that are currently in the tier 2 scene in EU, and yeah, this is how we started off. A couple of months later, Carcass got picked up by Wave, and they needed a coach, so he contacted me, and yeah, we kind of reunited there.
Nice. I mean, your time at Wave was definitely a really exciting one. What was it like beating those top teams in challenges like Fnatic and qualifying for the main event there? You know, I think you were definitely one of the first sort of underdog teams, I think, really, like Ballista and Ascend coming in and not the established order that we would expect.
Yeah, it was really an unreal feeling. I didn't believe it at first when we beat Fnatic. I still remember the last round that we had when we beat them on Split. It was really nice to share this experience with the team back then. And yeah, we were kind of the underdogs. I remember that we were the first team that actually qualified through the open qualifiers, so that was also something really special for us. And yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we spoke a bit about your previous experience. What was the biggest thing that you learned from your time on other teams before now coming into Apeks?
Oh, there was a lot of things that I learned, and I think the biggest thing that I learned was the difference between the NA and EU scene.
Yeah.
I think this is something really that not a lot of coaches have this experience right now. So I'm kind of banking on it going into Apeks, and I'm trying to teach the boys the NA way. They hate me for this, but hey, it's working so far. So
Okay, so what would you say that the biggest difference between NA and EU is then?
I think the macro is the biggest difference.
Okay.
I feel like in NA you have a lot of teams that are very adaptable. They don't have that much micro stuff, but on the fly, they're players. They all know what to do. They all know how to counter enemy compositions, enemy play styles, and I think that's something that's missing in the EU teams. So that's the biggest difference for me.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear, actually. I guess when you look at NA, right, it is quite a lot of on-the-fly, sort of random, almost ranked style of play that you see from them sometimes. So being able to sort of implement that on the go, I think is really good for being more adaptable and being able to fight against a variety of different opponents. So now coming to Apeks, of course, and the current team that you're a part of, everyone saw the leaks on Twitter first and all of the rumors about these ex-Fnatic players coming together, and perhaps it was a little bit quieter on the coaching side of things and names weren't sort of flung about as much. How did everything come together? How were you first involved with this group of players?
So I first got contacted by Apeks around the end of November, and at the time I was still scrimming with TSM. The org was still considering if they want to go into a bidding war with Apeks, so it was really nice that nothing got leaked on the coaching side. But yeah, how we got on with the players, Apeks already had a short list of players that they wanted to trial, and obviously Magnum and Mystic were the names that stood out immediately.
Yeah.
Enzo wasn't available at the time, so we didn't even consider him. And yeah, we just started off with this base of Magnum and Mystic, and we just started building up from there.
Oh, nice. I mean, looking as well at some of the other elements of the team, then I was going to mention this is your second time now working with Forrest. Was it planned that you would work together again, or is this something that just sort of fell into place?
Yeah, we've been on the first call together with Forrest, and yeah, ever since then he is part of the roster.
I mean, I guess you mentioned Enzo wasn't available at the time, but the other player that immediately sort of springs to mind, the young gun on the block, would be Keiko. How did you first get around to working with him?
I didn't know anything about Keiko. I was one of the people in the scene that had no idea how good he is. I just got told by Magnum, I think, that he is insane. Yeah. And he was actually the last duelist that we tried out. We had 4 or 5 people before him, and let's say that we just desperately needed him to be as good as he is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he's looked brilliant so far. So yeah, you know, definitely an amazing pickup.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how he's developing as a player. He's really eager to learn. He is also really smart, which it's not a trait of a lot of duelist players. Smart in game, obviously. So yeah, I'm really happy that we have Keiko on the team.
And I mean, yeah, so you got all of these players together from a variety of different places, and everything sort of fell into place. Then, of course, you went off to boot camp and started working through these scrims and whatnot. What were your first impressions working with the team as a whole?
I think our first scrims together as those 5 were actually on the boot camp. We never even had the time to finalize the roster. After we finalized the roster, to try it a couple of days, so we had to go in blind just because we didn't have that much time to finish everything. And yeah, my first impressions were it was kind of rough because we basically started off against really good teams, like high tier 2 teams that were together for a couple of months. And obviously there's a lot of structure there where we're just setting up the fundamentals. So it was kind of rough. We had to have a couple of tough conversations, but after 2 or 3 days, everything just started clicking, and it felt really nice after that.
I mean, something else as well, you said that you were working on the fundamentals quite a lot. What was the biggest focus for bootcamp? Was it those fundamentals, or just setting up the team to play with one another?
It was basically everything, because we had a week to prepare every map that we're going to play during the Polaris split. And then at the same time, we had to set up fundamentals, some ground rules. So it was some really long days in the process, and we just focused on everything.
Yeah. I guess something interesting for me is when you're building this completely new team and you have to look at something like maps, for example, how do you really determine what you want your map pool to look like? Is it a combination of what the players like, their previous experience on teams, how those defaults then start to come into play, or an imprint of your own ideas?
So for me as a coach, I really like to trust my players, give them the space to be comfortable, basically set up the things that they like. So if they have a preferred compositions, we're obviously going over it, and then we're just starting to build off from there. And in terms of how I want the map pool to look, I think currently you need to be able to play all the maps if you're a professional team. So there was no debating that on our side. But yeah, when it comes to building up compositions and stuff, I really like to listen to the players. Obviously, some maps like Ascent, you don't have that much wiggle room. Like you kind of need to go with the meta. But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, I saw you say on Twitter the other day as well that you prefer the best of 3 style of play that you now have in Polaris in comparison to, you know, your time in DAC when you had those best of 2s, and having a wider map pool to really sort of dig your teeth into as a professional, you know, like you said as well. And I also had the chance to speak to Enzo the other day, and he said that when you were at boot camp, he felt as if the performance was almost doubling every single time you stepped back into the server. As a coach, what is one of the ways that you like to try and highlight performance and really measure how it is you're making these improvements?
It's just a simple process of setting and following like daily, weekly, monthly goals, and I think that's the most effective way to do it. I'm pretty sure most of the coaches in the scene do that at this point. And yeah, talking about the bootcamp performance again, as I said, we really started off rough. We had the first few days were kind of tough. We got destroyed by a couple of teams, and then you can just see the synergy starting to go up and up and up. And at some point, the results just started coming in. But we usually never focus on if we win or lose a scrim. I think that's really unproductive for a team.
Yeah, I mean, I know as well, just looking from the outside in, perhaps was wondering how quickly it was that this Apeks team was going to climatize and sort of merge together. But you guys have done an amazing job. You're currently 3-0 in Polaris, coming into that next game against Vamanos, which is in a week from now. In terms of how the season's progressed already, the quality of teams you've played up against, does it meet your expectations, or does anything sort of vastly differ?
I think it meets my expectations, to be honest. I was expecting... We're talking about having 4 tier 1 players and then 1 really talented player that just doesn't have the experience yet. I think I was expecting exactly this, and also the Apeks is expecting this. Everyone knows that the goal is to win Ascension for us. There is some pressure because of that, and I think it showed in the first game. But yeah, after the pressure is gone, and I think we have the players to handle this pressure. Then you see the performance. It just speaks for itself so far.
Yeah, and I have to say, from a few of the people that I've spoken to at Apeks as well, they said that the support that you guys have had has just been amazing, not just from the community and people who perhaps supported some of the players originally, but from the organization as well. And how much has that helped you in feeling comfortable, I suppose, coming in with this new set of 5?
Oh, it was the support was amazing. Actually, I don't think we can ask for anything more from Apeks. The facilities were amazing at the bootcamp. Everyone was really welcoming. They took extra time to introduce themselves, to make us feel at home. And we met both the CS and the CS Academy team at the bootcamp. It was really nice. We even had some team activities together. So yeah, it was just really nice, everything that Apeks did so far for us.
I don't know, it sounds great, and I mean it's the sort of winning expectation, I guess, that you have as well, right? If you want to be winners, then you've got to train like winners to play like winners. So I think that the support that they've given you will certainly do a massive great deal, especially when you look at how many of the teams in Polaris are unsigned, and then in comparison, you know, what kind of services they have available to them. Yeah, it's completely different, right? So those are most of the questions that I have in terms of Apeks and things generally. Now we'll move into some looser questions, I suppose. I've only got a couple of them. Firstly, as a coach, obviously it's a bit different to being a player, and for most people I don't think it would be the logical set of steps that someone would take when you look at being a professional in the esports space. What exactly is it that led you to becoming a coach, and what reasoning do you sort of have to go down that career path?
So I was playing football before I got into esports. Yeah.
What team do you support? I feel as if it's only fair that I ask.
Arsenal.
Arsenal, okay, fair enough. My granddad was an Arsenal supporter, so I guess you're probably a pretty happy man at the moment then.
Nice. Oh yeah, I'm really happy.
Nice.
Finally, after so many years. But yeah, I played football back in Bulgaria, where I was born and basically raised. I played for one of the top academies over the years. When I was a youth player, and I was always interested in coaching back then. I spoke a lot with my coaches about strategic stuff, mostly team related stuff. And yeah, after I graduated, I immediately finished a course from UEFA. So I got the UEFA C license, I think, which is expired at this point. But yeah, it's still I got the experience from it. So when I swapped to esports, it was a uphill battle for me, because I switched when I was 21 and I have never played an FPS game. I started in Overwatch, and yeah, I reached a really high level, but at some point, whenever I started getting getting to play against tier 2, tier 3 players, it was just too hard for me to keep up mechanically. But still, I just noticed that when it comes to understanding the game and like game awareness, all those stuff, making decisions in the game was something that I excel at. So yeah, that's obviously really good qualities to have as a coach already.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I find it almost a little bit surprising, not expecting you, from Bulgaria, perhaps to be that razor edge number 9 Dimitar Berbatov kind of guy. But no, from the sidelines, I guess, is where you excel, right? The mental game is really what you like to tap into. So what advice would you then give to coaches who are new into the scene that really want to try and improve? What are the best practices to have as a coach in general, would you say?
If you're trying to improve your game knowledge or anything like this, the only thing you can really do is VOD review. Yeah. If you have access to not access, but if you have some connections with other high tier coaches, I would encourage you to ask them questions about the game. I'm usually pretty open to helping other new inexperienced coaches. So yeah, that's basically how you improve as a coach, and hopefully with a couple of wins, you just get your name out there and you start your journey.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. All right. Other than that, I don't have anything else left to ask. I will give one final question, which I feel as if is only fair with the event now coming up. Lock in. Any kind of wild statements you want to throw out there about what we can expect? I know it's already a crazy tournament, a singular limb, 32 teams, best of threes. What's your real opinions on any of these teams coming into any wild cards that we can perhaps expect?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I really haven't thought about it. I didn't even read about the rules. I just saw all the drama on Twitter about it. I don't know. I feel like 100 Thieves would be one of the teams that are gonna make it really far in the tournament, because they've been screaming for a long time now. I don't even know who they're playing in the first game.
I can't remember actually. Okay, so they're playing EDG. Yeah, that's a really interesting matchup. So EDG, of course, one of those teams as well, which I don't believe made franchising and have been introduced as one of the 2 Chinese teams alongside FPX. So yeah, 100 Thieves in the tournament. They're the ones you're going to be looking out for.
Yeah, I think they would be at the start they would be the best NA team, because when I scrimmed them 2 months ago, they just seemed like a complete team already, while teams like C9 Sentinel are just starting up, so they would obviously need some time to build everything up. So yeah, that's definitely the team I would look out for.
All right, then. Well, of course, the main team that we're going to be looking out for will, of course, be Apeks and Polaris. Speaking to Enzo, I'm going to be predicting you guys every single time. I predicted you yesterday, and the 1917 did come through, managed to get it over the line. So maybe I'm not a bad luck curse after all, and I can get those points up. But Ito, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. And yeah, I'll leave all of his socials in the description below, so you can make sure to check him out. But yeah, once again, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for the invitation. I really appreciate it as well.
No worries. All right. Thank you.